Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner, and we got a very special broadcast for you. Sometimes we have charismatic leaders, and the question that's been raised is, when is a charismatic leader such, or when does it go into the cult category? And there is some controversy regarding Yeshiva Sichat Chaim, a great New York. Its energetic leader is Rabbi Eitan Rubin. And there's been some discussion on Yeshiva World and the 5 Towns Jewish Times regarding this. Rabbi Shia Hach joins us. He has written a book on cult busting. He's an activist. And Rabbi Yair Hoffman joins us. He's written 32 Sfarim, and he's a Lacha columnist in the 5 Towns Jewish Times. So we're going to have a discussion. And, of course, we'll have a chance later on for you to call in with your phone calls, your questions, your comments. So let me first begin by addressing you, Rabbi Shia Hach. We thank both of you for joining us on this broadcast. Can you define what a cult is? You wrote a book about cult busting. What exactly is a cult?
Good Tavach to you and to the wonderful audience. I think that perhaps this evening, maybe we should stay away from the word cult. You see, 14 months ago, there were a group of rabbis heard certain talk about a particular yeshiva, and they started doing inquiries about this particular yeshiva. Now, they have found, from speaking to Talmidim, former Talmidim, parents, and they basically put together a slew of questions to the yeshiva. These questions, to their satisfaction, was never answered. Some of the issues were never solved. Some of the issues were never dealt with. And a few months ago, they actually reached out to me, asking me, listen, we're going to tell you some of the characteristics of this yeshiva. And what do you think about this? Is it a cult or not a cult? But when I stood before Rabbanim, and to testify my testimony, my first question was to Rabbanim is, Rabbanim, Choshev Rabbanim, tell me, do you understand the word cult? They said no. There was a particular letter written by a Toyin and a Dayan in Borough Park. I went to see the Dayan. I said, Rabbi.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt here?
This narrative
is completely false. This never happened.
I think we should ask Rabbi Yair Hoffman a better question, and that is, he wrote so many svarim on halacha. I'd like to know the halacha, if you're allowed to be Motzi Shemra without mentioning a person's name, but just saying about that people know who you are.
Yeshiva. I want to ask you, did you ever go down to the yeshiva, Rabbi Hoff? Did you ever go down to the yeshiva?
Can you explain to me what the words elders of Zion actually mean?
Hold on.
And what the word murder actually means? You accused me and my colleagues of being elders of Zion.
So, Reb Shia, why don't you just in 3 minutes, let's do an opening statement.
Let me begin by saying that I agreed to come on tonight's program. Not here so much to talk about the yeshiva as I am simply to clear my name. There was a younger man who wrote an article applying the article, basically implying, calling me names like elders of Zion, and the second article, murder. And I believe that there's an apology is in place, not to me, but also to the other Rosh Yeshivas and to the parents that are basically trying to reunite their families. So that's the first thing is, it's not a question. The one who is on trial is not even here. So I don't think he should be on trial. Let's talk about something else. The one who was on trial is here. I want to know, Zev, you're in the business of sensation. I want to know, do you think
I'm in the business of broadcasting?
Broadcasting. Okay, good. So do you think it's right to refer to rabbis and Rosh Yeshiva and parents who are in pain because of their children, because families have been ripped apart, that they should be called elders of Zion, that they should be called murderers? Is that, you think, out with the situation we should talk about? We can get to talk about the yeshiva. By the way, Rabbi Hoffman, I want to know, did you speak to Rabbi Helbrand, Yemach Shemoy? Did you ask him, before you wrote an article about Leif Tar? It's very, very simple. There is a yeshiva that is breaking up families. Do other people in the yeshiva world, should they say something? Should they help the families? Should they even help the yeshiva? The answer is 100%. Because Rabbi Hoffman, I'm sure, would do the same thing. He has written, when he wrote up against his cult, by the way, he didn't speak to any other members in the cult. He didn't speak to the rabbi who ran the cult. He basically, based on hearsay, he wrote his article. So based on hearsay, if that's what it is, I can write my letter. Now, by the way, I just want to say, very, very important. I did speak to Talmidim and former Talmidim. I did speak to parents who have people in yeshiva today and not today. And by the way, it's not only I who spoke. When I say I mean there's a team of people that spoke. Some of these people are simply afraid because I know in the last 14 weeks, this is an investigation going on for 14 months. I know in the 14 weeks that I got involved, I was getting already threatening calls from people who know me and people who don't know me, and people from the outside of the community and people inside my community. So I can understand very, very well why particularly Rosh Yeshiva, who was very, very respected within his community, who did some investigation, who listened to testimony from people, and believe me, gentlemen and ladies out there, Torah tells us exactly how many people you have to listen to know that something is something. Basically, al pi shnayim or shloisha edim yokom hadover. Basically, in a bezdin. And by the way, this man was called and made us believe. When I say us, the parents believe that he was going to come to the hearing at that time, and in Pennsylvania, he never showed up. I'm not sure why he didn't show up. Well, actually, okay. I do. I'll tell you one more thing, and I'll end with this. You know, every Rav that I spoke to in Greatness, when I called him and said about the yeshiva, he said, Rabbi, I don't want to talk to you. He said, what do you want to talk to me? It's a good yeshiva. It's your neighbor. It's your colleague. What can you talk to me? I can't talk to me. I'm afraid you're going to quote me. You're afraid I'm going to quote you? What do you have to say that you're afraid that I'm going to quote you? So let me tell you something. You don't need, Zev, you're a great journalist. Why don't you go speak to the 12, 15 Rabbanim in the Great Neck community and see what they say about this yeshiva and about this man who's running.
Yeah, and that's what we're here tonight. We have parents from both sides of the side. Rabbi Yair Hoffman, I'd like you to take some time and also give us your perspective, what's going on here, because a lot of people don't know.
This is the furthest thing from a cult that you can imagine. Rabbi Eitan Rubin is a tzaddik gomer. He is as far from a cult as mankind is from the amoeba. Not only is it not a cult, it's a model yeshiva. Dr. Pelkovitz, he's a brilliant therapist, he's a psychologist. He looked into this and he found absolutely nothing. I also spoke to Reb Tzvi Gluck. Reb Tzvi Gluck, as you may know, is the head of Amudim, and he investigated it when there was no information at all that fit into the other narratives, into their narratives. They dumped him like a hot potato. He knows a cult when he sees it. As far as Hellbrands and that cult, I just want to tell you that, yes, I investigated very well. I spoke to victims. I spoke to the family. I spoke to Hellbrands himself. I spoke to his own children, both those that were outside of the cult and those that were in the cult. Reb Shia did not ever meet Reb Eitan. He never went down to the yeshiva. At my own expense, I went down and I had a video camera and I spoke not only to alumni who I met randomly in shuls, but I spoke to 40 to 50 talmidim. I spoke to a number of parents. Now, I don't know if you know who Rabbi Lookstein is. He's a very chashuv, modern Orthodox rabbi from Yeshiva University. He has 2 grandsons in this yeshiva. I spoke to his parents. These parents are modern Orthodox, but they speak the world of Reb Eitan Rubin. There are a number of chashuv of Rosh Yeshiva that know the yeshiva intimately. Reb Yudel Svei is the son of Reb Elia Svei. He knows Rabbi Rubin. He knows his hashkafa. He believes that it is an awesome yeshiva. Reb Motel Dick. Reb Motel Dick is one of the leading Rosh Yeshiva. He's got a yeshiva called Heichal HaTorah. The Novominsker Rebbe was the leading gadol. Both Novominsker Rebbes, Reb Shia and Reb Yisrael Perlau, they both sing Rabbi Rubin's praises. Reb Beryl Shachar from Edison, he knows the yeshiva intimately. It is horrible what has happened here, labeling a tzaddik yesod.
By the way, did you speak to me?
Hold on.
You knew that you wrote
One second, gentlemen.
I was on mute the whole time he spoke.
Rabbi Yair,
Hold on, Reb Shea, let Rabbi Hoffman finish. We're going to have a discussion back and forth. I know there's passions that are involved here, but let's.
Please put him
I
on
lowered your microphone, so let everybody.
Can't treat me less.
Hold on, we gotta let
you have to put everybody on mute.
Rav Shia, I'm going to let you respond. I don't want Rabbi Hoffman to interrupt you. Please let's not interrupt Rabbi Hoffman. Okay, let Rabbi Hoffman go ahead.
He would treat me fairly.
Hold on, Rav Shia, please listen to me carefully. You're going to have a chance to respond, just like he didn't interrupt you. please let him finish what he has to say. You'll have a chance to respond, and then we'll have back and forth. But if everybody's going to shout over each other, nobody's going to get their message out there. So I want to make sure your message gets out there, when Rabbi Hoffman's message gets out there. So let's go by these rules. When somebody speaks, let them finish. I'll let you respond to it. We have time tonight, so we're going to go give and take. Rabbi Hoffman, I'll let you continue where you are. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so there is a Rabbi Wall. He's a parent there. I spoke to him. He said it's a wonderful, wonderful place. It is not a cult at all. And he said, if I had the opportunity, I would go sit and learn there myself under Rabbi Eitan Rubin. He's the rabbi of Westport, Connecticut. I think it's called Beit. I don't want to mispronounce it, but he's the rabbi there. There is the Baruch family. Larry, the husband, said it is not at all a cult. The Haredi world, you go to your Rebbe. And he said the boys are healthy, happy, thriving. It's not the life that he would have chosen, but he said that they're just incredible people. They're so respectful.
Spiegel sat with me for 2 hours. His story was very, very different than what Rabbi Hoffman said. Rabbi Hoffman is changing his words. And by the way, Dr. David Pelkowitz, let's put him on the phone and they ask him if that's not what he said. The Bochum that he met were very kind. Listen, I wrote about the Bochum there. They're sincere, they're loving, they learn the best Bochum in the yeshiva. That's not the question. We're not talking about the victims. We're talking about the predators. Who are the predators and are the predators?
Rabbi Hoffman?
You're going to say you cut him off.
I didn't cut anybody off, but Rabbi Hoffman, are you there? Okay, let's see if we can reestablish connection with Rabbi Hoffman. As you can hear, those that are just tuning in, this is a very heated discussion, and dealing with education, dealing with children, dealing with...
I want to ask you a question. Do you think that he should have... he wrote an article, and he has a right to write whatever he wants. We live in America, Baruch Hashem, and he's a Ben Torah, and he has a right to give his opinion, a Torah opinion. But to call us the elders of Zion, I was brought up, the elders of Zion were really bad guys. Is that what he thinks, that I have bad intention? You think I have bad intention for anybody right now? I'm talking about the pain of families. I've listened to 6 hours of testimony of parent after parent after parent. The Rabbonim who dealt with these families, people that came as far as California who came in for this dion and they testified. And the 3 Rabbonim that sat down said, listen, we don't know what to make of it. We mixed this whole thing up with the cult. He says, we're not qualified to say what is a cult and not a cult. I say, stay away from the word cult. That was really not the question.
You brought about cult, but we're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to try to reestablish. I don't know what happens, Rabbi Hoffman. We'll reestablish connection with him too. Rabbi Hoffman, you were middle of saying something when we lost your voice. So
right. Okay,
why don't you pick up where you were speaking?
Okay, so I think that I left off with there's something called flip out syndrome, where someone who's a bit more modern becomes frommer and they make mistakes. Now, this happened to some of these individuals while in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Eitan Rubin, what he does is he makes sure that there is shalom. And there have been misunderstandings here. All the Talmidim speak to their parents. There is one abuse victim who doesn't speak to one parent. He did not do his due diligence here. I'm very sorry. He didn't go down to the yeshiva. He didn't speak to the Talmidim. He spoke to 3 or 4 disgruntled parents. The Chafetz Chaim is right. You're not allowed to add one teva. This is in Klal Beis Shiftes. Kol zeh shedibarnu. We're speaking about what's in Harah. Hu mitzad iser ha'amira ba'atzmo. Aval chas v'shalom. Heaven forbid, lahusif afilu teva achas. Zevadai oser, the whole government. Adding extra words is forbidden in any circumstances. And now I just want to go back to Reb Siahat's quote that went all around. He said, but if we are right, Rahmanu litzlan, we're talking shvichas damim, murder, gilui arayos, sexual improprieties, incest, and avodah zarah. Now this is
Why don't you play that? Why don't you play it?
I'm sorry.
You should be on mute because I was not given equal time.
How come I cannot see Rabbi Hoffman and he can see me?
This is on YouTube as well. I'm going to listen. I promise you're going to respond, but let him finish his statement. You're going to respond. I know there's passions here. You're both.
What do you think the Chafetz Chaim would say about calling me the elders of Zion and telling me that I'm a murderer?
Okay, so Rabbi Hoffman will address it. Why do you call them the elders of Zion? Let's address that as well in your response.
Okay, first of all, he completely misunderstood what this is. Let me tell you what the protocols of the learned elders of Zion are. What they are is it was an accusation that the police of the Tsar made up, and this is exactly what's going on.
Why don't you tell me how many shiurim does Rabbi Rubin give a week?
How many shiurim does he give a week?
Yeah.
Well, I've been there. I think he gives a few shiurim every week, 2 or 3.
You only think. You mean you don't know? You check the
I wasn't
yeshiva,
there
but you don't know
entire
how many
week, but
shiurim the Rosh Yeshiva
you
gives.
were never there.
Okay. Yeah, I was. You don't know if I was never there. By the way, you may be very surprised when you see some pictures in the next newspaper. You don't know if I wasn't there. You're talking a little bit too fast, young man.
Okay.
Young man, you're making a big mistake. You don't know if I wasn't there.
Were you at the yeshiva? Were you at the yeshiva?
Chavetz Chaim writes in Klal Vav, Yud Beis, the
yeshiva world should take you down off their things. They should not teach in your articles. The yeshiva world did not allow you to write. If you write about
please listen.
I'm trying to break the way you write.
You gave up your Olam Haba by saying this, by saying what you said. I'm trying to help you. So it says the Inkvar Avar V'Shama Lashon Harah, the Hanin, and he believed it. This is your tikkun.
What do you say about Rabbi Balancin's letter?
Listen carefully.
What do you say about Rabbi Balancin's letter?
You realize what you
Rabbi
did?
Hoffman.
You destroyed
Rabbi
a
Hoffman. What do you say about Rabbi Balancin's letter, Rabbi Hoffman?
You know, let me interject over here.
Did you read the letter? Oh, you're not sure how many shiurim the man gives, but he's a tzaddik gomer. Come on, give me a break.
Okay,
give me a break.
Gentlemen, I'm getting some emails over here.
Never mind the term cult. Can you tell me what the word tzaddik gomer means? What does the word tzaddik gomer mean?
You were never in Yeshiva, and you never
when you take young men
hold on. If both of you are talking at the same time, then nobody gets to hear. And by the way, just a real issue over here, because that's what we're getting. People are confused. They know what's going on.
Their blog.
Okay.
You don't belong writing for Yeshiva World and
Rev Shia, let's do one at a time. People are confused.
No, I want to go back.
People are confused. We're going to get to that.
He is misquoting people. He is making you think that all these Rosh Yeshivas came to see Yeshiva.
You've never met the man. You've never been to Yeshiva.
You're a liar.
Hold on.
I add to the other person's word. He did not come down to Yeshiva.
Hold on.
He added to what someone else wrote.
I can give
Rabbi
you,
Hoffman,
I can
be
give
honest.
you 50 people
Rabbi Hoffman,
that
be
speak
honest.
so highly of him.
You be honest. You can write 32 smarting, but if you're not honest, then there's
hold on, Reb Shia. Let's lower the tent a little bit because people are confused what's going on. So I want Rabbi Hoffman to explain.
No, I want to start from the beginning. Rabbi Zev, I want to start from the beginning.
You
misintroduced me. Rabbi Zev, you misintroduced me.
Reb Shia, do you know who Worshman David is?
Right. Because
you didn't answer my question.
You know that's only one part of my life is that I'm a deprogrammer. Listen, I run 2 yeshivas in Brooklyn. Let's start again from the beginning of the program. You misintroduced me. We know each other for a long time. I don't go around telling everybody what I do. But I think it's important now because I'm being accused for certain things that basically should understand. And by the way, I have a very, very close relationship with Tzvi Glock and sat with him about this case for 2 hours, okay? And he was totally misquoted tonight. But okay, he can talk for himself. Number one, I come from an illustrious family. It has been said that the Hecht family is the largest rabbinic family in the world. The largest rabbinic family in the world, okay? And we are responsible for hundreds, thousands, and tens of thousands of Bali Tshuva. We have helped establish many yeshivas around the world and many yeshivas right here in New York. To say that I didn't come to check out yeshiva, don't tell me how I have to check how you check out a yeshiva. That's beautiful. Why did you put me in my letter that I wrote? I said you know a tree by its fruit. That's beautiful.
Reb Shia, you make it, and by the way, the National Committee for the French Jewish Education do excellent work, and I know you for many years. But people are confused here. What's going on? So Rabbi Hoffman, let's get to the point of what the confusion is, because people are saying they don't know what's going on, and we're here to clarify. And people are confused.
So I believe here that Reb Shia did not do his due diligence. I'm trying to ensure that he go down to the yeshiva, see what it is, and realize the terrible Lashon Harah that he did. This is a fabulous place. It is a model yeshiva. There are boys in Mir, there are boys in BMT that rave about it. This man is an incredible mechanech. This man put together families that were already divorced. How many people do a machzir gerushaso? He's created numerous talmidei chachamim, and I am trying to save Reb Shia from his own Shia here, where
Thank
he
you.
said,
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. You're a guy with tremendous knowledge. I'm going to thank you and tell the world that Rabbi Hoffman is now the new judge of the entire world. He has given me ordination. I'm very, very happy and appreciate it very, very much.
Reb Shia, did you ever learn Sefer Chafetz Chaim?
Rabbi Hoffman, I'm getting a lot of emails from people. Hold on, gentlemen. I'm getting a lot of emails from people.
Because you called me already the elders of Zion and you called me a murderer.
You
So let's not play
misunderstood.
this game of calling each other names and find out each other back on what I learned.
Rabbi Hoffman, did you call Rabbi
do quite
Shia
well
a murderer?
with
Did
you,
you call him an elder of Zion? But please,
Okay,
I'm getting
the
people
Chafetz Chaim
emailing me.
The
Rabbi Hoffman, they're
Chafetz
saying
Chaim
to
writes
me, hold on,
that
Rabbi Hoffman, they're saying to me
Okay,
they don't know
the
what's going on.
Chafetz Chaim writes
Answer the question. Let's explain what's going on.
that
Rabbi, who are you sitting next to? Who are you sitting next to? I cannot see you, but who
You're
are you
not
sitting
allowing
next to? I
me
was
to
told you're
talk.
sitting next to two people. Who are you sitting next to?
I'm sitting next to my children.
Oh, okay.
One of
That's
them
beautiful.
read your
Beautiful.
Sefer, read your book. I'm sitting next to my daughter-in-law's here. We
You
have
read my second book or my first
granddaughter
book?
here.
My second book or my first book you read?
The cult
Did you read my second book too?
The cult buster book, he said. Okay.
No, second book. The second book where I wrote about Jewish cults. Exactly.
So, Rabbi Hoffman, tell people what is, from your perspective, what's going on here?
Being that started with me, let's go back to me.
Since you're not answering my question,
asking
let me
me if he
just
should
say,
Hold on.
send his son to this particular yeshiva. I wrote back a private letter saying today, he asked me, is this a cult? And I said, I don't know. The jury is still out if it is a cult or not, so I can't answer you. However, he said that there are many questions about this yeshiva. Many parents who have the kids at the yeshiva have no relationship with the yeshiva. They were told to
you sent that letter into Vid News. You know that it was a farce letter, and you sent it in to Vid News. Vid News sent it to
I did
me.
not.
I looked into it, and just like this is not true. You set this up.
Okay.
You set this whole thing. You said that. Oh, they asked you to come on the show.
Rabbi Hoffman, let me just tell you something. Okay, I'm going to leave you for a better time. Okay, but you can believe me for this moment. I did not send it in. I don't know what you're talking about.
Reb Shia, I'm trying to save your life by stopping the Lashon Harah that you said. You've never been to the yeshiva. You've never met
You don't know that. You don't know that. You don't know that, Rabbi.
Yes, I do.
Okay, again.
I feel like I'm in the presidential
so
debate. I mean,
and you don't even know.
Do I have to speak to know that they're victims? How many victims? You spoke to those who are happy. But all I need is one victim, technically, and it shows that the guy's a fraud.
There are no victims here, Reb Shia.
I'm going to take something.
There are no victims here.
When you know that there's over a dozen parents broken-hearted, and you say a few disgruntled parents,
there is.
For Ben Kennedy, you should act a little bit better than that. I'm really surprised by men who won't start to speak in that way.
Okay, I appreciate what you have.
You want to know why I'm screaming? Yeah, I'm screaming because I see the pain. I feel the pain of these parents. What are you doing? You just with the hand. Oh, I spoke to Yeshiva. Oh, you're a wonderful boy. I wrote that they were all wonderful boys. All they're victims. The question is about the perpetrator.
Who's making the charges?
They were basically taught that kibbud of aim is something that really does not have to be carried out in today, and that basically it's true that Rashi says. Now I'm talking.
There are 3 families,
17 behaviors, 17.
Okay. I just want to tell you that when you damage someone with Lashon Harah, you've got to be mefietz them and everyone you spoke to. Otherwise, there's no kapara for you. Now, I just want to tell you, you've done a lot of damage here with absolute
what damage did I
never
do?
visited the yeshiva. You never met Reb Eitan.
You know there's no damage. I didn't do any damage whatsoever.
I want to quote.
Damage at all. Damage. This man was damaged before I even got anywhere. He's been basically
never damaged.
Okay, let me have I want to have a dialogue.
There was no damage. So what do you have against me?
I want to have a dialogue. So let Rabbi Hammond, because people hear 2 of you speaking at the same time, they don't know what's going on. They're getting a headache.
It starts off one thing. How
Okay.
did you have the nerve to basically call me the elders of Zion? How did you have the nerve to write about Rosh
I would not
Yeshiva,
call
the
you
word murder,
Okay.
and about
Did you,
parents
Rabbi
who are
Hoffman, did you
in
call
pain
Rabbi
for you to
Shia? Hold
murder?
on.
I want to
Shia,
answer the word murder, and then I'll tell you if I met this
Shia, but
guy and
here's the
that guy and the other
problem.
guy, and
If
if
you're
I
both
learned in
speaking at the same
Tzachar
time,
or any other sefer.
if you're speaking at the same time, people don't know what's going on. So remember, you're not only speaking to Rabbi Hoffman, you're speaking to thousands upon thousands of people. So I want people to hear clearly what you're saying. We're
I
both
must
speaking
say,
at the
for him
same
to
time.
say that I set it up was really a little bit low.
Okay.
I'm really
So
sorry.
I'm
It's not-
going
that's not
to
good
let
thing. Low.
Rabbi Hoffman
What do you think? I
respond.
don't have the guts to write a letter? The thing I have to do with it? Give me a break.
The
The one that's saying the wrong, not
You
me.
don't let anyone talk. Okay.
Rav Shia,
Look,
I'm
one-sided-
gonna-
What you're saying
we have
is false.
time.
What
We
you're
have
saying
equal
is
time.
false.
What you're saying
Let
is
me
false.
talk.
There are
Oh,
many,
hold on,
many
Rav
students.
Shia.
Stop it.
Rav
You
Shia,
know
when
that
both
many
of you
students.
Rav Shia, when both of you are talking at the same time, both of you are not getting your point across. I want people
I'm
to
a
hear you
little bit excited.
clearly. I want people to
We
hear
should
Rabbi
have been
Hoffman
in-
clearly.
You see, we should have been
Okay, I
in
just wanna
the
tell
studio.
you-
Would have been a little bit easier for me.
If you've been in the studio, you've been all each other's throats with your hands, I'm afraid. But anyway, let
No,
Rabbi
don't make
Hoffman, I'm going to let you respond. I'm going to give you the cover. Everybody, both of you deserve the cover, the respect. But let's try to keep it because people are being confused. And if you want people to know what you're talking about and you want to get people to support your positions, you have to be able to let people hear it.
There is
Okay?
an
Let's go
awesome
by those rules of
yeshiva
order.
in greatness. There is an awesome yeshiva in greatness. They have
Go ahead,
tons
Rabbi
of Talmidim in BMG. They have tons of Talmidim in Mir. They are Talmidei Chachamim. Rabbi Lopiansky, who faheres from Mir, says that these Bachrim are edel. They are incredible. They are Talmidei Chachamim. They are mentor. They have great relationships with their parents. Now, what has happened here is one parent whose son was, had flip out syndrome, got upset about it. He got together with 2 or 3 other disgruntled parents who therapists have said these parents have issues. And what he did is, I don't know how he got you into this, but he went to various people, and this is a carefully coordinated character assassination about a wonderful, wonderful yeshiva with wonderful, wonderful bachrim, with wonderful, wonderful faculty. And he is the furthest thing from a cult leader that there is. I just want to say one thing. Hirsch ben David wrote a letter to Peter Lopukin. And what he did was he accused the Alter Rebbe of these 3 things. And did this person... So what happened? The Alter Rebbe was arrested. This was on May 8th, 1798. He accused the Alter Rebbe of rebelling against the empire. The whole thing was sheker v'chaza. He accused the Alter Rebbe of leading a wanton life of idleness, and he accused the Alter Rebbe of encouraging young men to turn against their fathers. That is what is happening here. What Rav Shia have letters and what his tape is saying and the accusations of Gilu Arayah, Shvichas Damim, incest, Avodah Zarah are horrific. There's nothing there. Dr. Pelkovich, it's
Don't mention that name again. You're misquoting.
You're
Hold on, Rav Shia.
You're interrupting.
You are
Rav
misquoting.
Shia, I'm going to let you rebut.
I
You
don't
can
know
rebut.
where you
Hold
got
on.
your manners from, but you cannot interrupt people. Let me talk. Thank you. The truth is that this is an incredible yeshiva with incredible faculty. Every single gadol that went down and saw and is familiar with this yeshiva.
How many went? How many went down? Down to see.
At least 10. And please let me speak.
Went down?
At least,
Mention the people who
at
went
least
down.
10 went down.
Tell
Rav
me.
Shia, you're going to
Tell us.
present
10 went down.
Hold
You've
on.
never been there,
That's
so
what
you
you
don't
said.
know.
Okay,
You don't
Rav
know.
Shia-
You may
You've
see
never been
pictures
there,
yet.
so you
You
don't
don't know. You don't know.
Rav
Tell
Shia,
us the
Rav
10.
Shia, you've never
Tell us
been
the
there.
10 Rosh Yeshivas that went
So
down.
you don't.
I'll tell you Rosh
You
Yeshivas that
don't
went
know.
down and said it's no good.
Rav
That's a man with
Bev,
sensitivity of
Hold on.
fear.
just
Rav
make
Shia.
sure that he doesn't interrupt the
Rav
parents.
Shia, if I'm going to
Rabbi
request,
Obam,
I'm going to
Rabbi
request you again.
Obam went down.
When you're in
Rabbi
pain, it's very,
Weizmann
very
went
hard
down.
to
Rabbi
keep
Craig
etiquette
I know,
when
but
it's
you have
sacrifice.
to, you have to,
I'm
you
in
have to have
pain.
people.
You're talking
Right,
from seichel. I'm talking in pain. I feel the pain of parents, and it's there. You're right. I apologize to you. I apologize to the
and that
audience.
kind
I apologize
But
to you.
Rav
I'm
Shia-
saying,
Rav Shia-
now you're interrupting me. Let me just finish this.
The Alter Rebbe in
I'm in
jail
pain,
twice.
and therefore I'm
The
screaming.
Alter
You
Rebbe
want me
went
to
to
not be able to
jail
take the pain,
twice
and I
because
should be
of this
quiet.
pain.
No,
Yeah.
but Rav
When
Shia,
you're
but
in
the
pain,
point
I'll
is
tell
that
you
the
it's
Rav
pain.
Shia.
It hurts.
The point that's
It
being made.
hurts.
And
Let Rabbi Hoffman, you have 2 minutes. Let's finish up, and I'll go back to Rabbi Shia, and then want to take some of your phone calls.
Rabbi Hopper said that well more than 90% of the people, of the parents spoke glowingly about the yeshiva. This has been my experience as well. I've also spoken to the Kollel Youngalite. I do want to say that it's Elul, the Lashon Harah that was said is just horrific. You don't do that to a Talmid Chacham. You don't do that to anyone, but particularly a Talmid Chacham. Also, just the damage to all the students that are there, that are in BMG, that are in Mir. It's just, and to the Rebbeim and to parents. You know how many parents have read what Reb Shia has written, and they're crying. Take a look at the comments. They are crying. They're horrified at what is being done. He's being railroaded for some reason. I don't know if he's getting donations for his yeshiva.
I know it. You couldn't hold
This
yourself back.
is wrong.
Okay, well, basically, let's not impugn his
Follow
credibility.
the money.
Okay, it's not about the money. Now I'm going to let Rabbi Shia have to respond, and I want to take phone calls. I have a ton of calls coming in.
He said you shouldn't talk Lashon Harah and shouldn't basically put people in bad light. Rosh Yeshiva, who basically spoke out on behalf of these families and behalf of
Yeah, I
these
didn't mention
students
your name,
that
by the
left
way.
the yeshiva.
I didn't mention your
Basically,
name.
they
You mentioned
clearly
Rabbi
said
Reuben's name.
that
I did not mention your name.
And Rosh Yeshiva. By the way, I want to let you know, Rabbi Yair, I happen to like many of the topics that you write about, and I think you're really a great Talmid Chacham and write some beautiful stuff. By the way, hope you quoted this also, and you'll be able to use me as a quote to promote your next book, Emir Hashem. But let me just say something. The one thing that I agree with Rabbi Haffer, and I'm sure he agrees with me, is if there is a cult, in a guise of a yeshiva, we have to take them down. We have to stop them. We have to call these people out. And Rabbi Reuben, in his case, I'm not saying that he's a cult. I'm not saying that he's a cult at all. But he basically could have dealt with, maybe the yeshiva should have hired Rabbi Hoffman, that he should work shalom between the parents and the children and the Rosh Yeshiva. But let me tell you something. The students, I wrote in my letter, the students are the most tired students. They're sincere, they're idealistic, they're willing to give up all the gashmis to sit and study Torah. And that is a beautiful situation. And I basically applaud all of them. It's gewaldic. But that has nothing to do if the Rosh Yeshiva, who doesn't really even give any shiurim during the week, and he basically does things that are basically helping either break up families or telling students to have a drink, and basically then to ask them questions about after they're drinking and other behaviors.
That is complete checker.
I think we should hear it in the Din Torah, not on a public forum.
Okay, we should
Rabbi
get
Hoffman, then we're
together
gonna break.
for food. Okay, we should get together and have a meal. And we could discuss this and try and figure it out. So we daven for shalom 3 times a day, and we daven in every cottage for shalom. And I think that after you see all my evidence, I think that you will join me in this effort to make shalom. I congratulate you on making Bali Tshuva. I congratulate you on taking Klal Yisrael, members of Klal Yisrael out of cults. But, I feel that you did not do your due diligence here. I wish you a kiva v'kasima toiva. Tell me the truth. Did you visit the yeshiva? Did you meet Rabbi Reuben? The truth. Forget about all the sophisticated.
I will tell you the truth. I called Rabbi Reuben. Yes. He didn't take my call, and that is true. I can show you on my phone. I did not visit the yeshiva because when I deal with a victim, I don't need to deal with the perpetrator. The perpetrator is on a different deal than me. I dealt with enough victims that I don't have to go to the yeshiva.
Okay, anyway, John, we're going to have to break.
I'm telling you again. I spoke to people and parents. I believe.
That's not due diligence.
You tell me what's the number. How many victims should I speak to?
You
tell me what number.
Rabbi.
Tell me a number.
You're a good man, but you blew it here.
How many students? How many students should I speak to?
You blew it here. You did what
you know what? You know what? You know what?
Okay.
You know what? When you listen over to the tape,
gentlemen, we have a ton of phone calls coming in.
This is one more Elders of Zion. This is one more Elders of Zion. It's a very, very not nice ball that you throw. Okay,
Rabbi Hoffman, did you call Rabbi Shia Elder of Zion? 1 second.
Okay, I will respond. I will respond.
Then I want to break. Did you call Rabbi Shia an Elder of Zion?
No, I did not call him that. What I did was I said, this is a modern day protocol of the learned Elders of Zion. What that was a forgery that accused innocent people, Klal Yisrael, of trying to take over the world. Now, this is also a completely false allegation. Rabbi Eitan Rubens is the furthest thing from a cult leader. He doesn't separate kids from their parents. Speak to the parents. I have it on video. Speak to the kids. It's completely not true. Elders of Zion means the leaders of Israel. I did not call him that. I did not call him that. It's not a pejorative
You
term.
would never call me a leader of Israel, right?
I did
Okay.
say,
And
I
the word
did
murder,
say,
I don't
I
accept
just
your answer. But
clarified,
what about
please
the
let me
word murder?
clarify without
What about the word
interruption.
murder?
Please let me clarify.
Let him finish that,
I'm
and then
right.
I have a ton of calls.
Okay,
I want to
so-
get to that. Okay.
There was one parent who's a tzaddik of an individual, and that parent misunderstood something called flip out syndrome and blamed Eitan Rubin on it. That is what's going on here. I think it'll be clarified after all the evidence comes forward. I think that it's very, very unhelpful to say this horrific Lashon Harah about a wonderful individual and a wonderful yeshiva. And you could just ask anyone who has learned there. You ask there are 10 Rabbanim that went down, like Rav Oldbaum. The faculty, by the way, is fantastic.
They are, by the way.
They are. And this
Yes.
is the type of faculty that they wouldn't tolerate. They wouldn't tolerate any of this. I don't know if they
know about it. They may live in a different city and they can't
they've been there for 8-9 years. They've been there for 8-9 years. The Rabbanim who went down there, they were Rav Oldbaum from Two Gardens Hills. He's written Sfarim. He's a tzaddik. He loves the place. Rav Steiner runs one of the most incredible yeshivas around. Okay, Rav Budny went down there. Rav Lopiansky, Rav Frankel, Rabbi Greisman.
Rabbi spoke against
Budny said remarkable
Okay, gentlemen,
things. I don't
So
know who
we're
people would rather
looking at
believe.
the controversies
Someone who-
regarding. I do want to take a couple appearances. Estelle, you've been waiting for over an hour, so welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, so I have a couple things to say. Number one, Rabbi Heft cannot accuse the school of being a cult and then come on here and say, let's not use the word cult. We are an intelligent group of parents who understand what a cult means. And for him to say, you don't really understand, so let's not use it, is actually insulting. That's the first thing I have to say. The second thing I have to say is it seems to me that Rabbi Heft has a very personal vendetta here because he didn't like what Rabbi Hoffman said. But I'm going to come to you as a parent of a child of an adult who is there right now. He's my son, Jordan, who is, if you want to, I'm not sure why we're using the word flipped out syndrome. Spent time in Israel after COVID. He went to Or Sameach, he went to the Mir, he was all over. He came back. And let me tell you about my family for a moment. I have 5 children of all different levels of religion. I have children who have tattoos. I have children who have earrings. I have children who are observant and not observant. And had it not been for Rav Rubin, my youngest son would not have figured out how to actually be part of this family in a warm, accepting, loving manner. At no time did Rav Rubin ever encourage him to separate himself from his family. I need to know, who is it that Rabbi Huss spoke to? Did he speak to the 80 students that went to Lakewood to stand strong with Rav Rubin at his tribunal? Did he speak? I have to tell you, I called Rabbi Lopiansky and I called Rabbi Hopfer. Both people who were on the, for lack of a better word, tribunal. Only Rabbi Lopiansky called me back. I'm a parent of a current student. I am a modern Orthodox parent who raised our children on Long Island, who went to Hink Hebrew Academy of Nassau County. I am not part of a cult. My son is not part of a cult. And for Rabbi Heft to stand here, and I stand with this, having never gone there, don't tell me. You know how many students he has to speak to? Every single current student. Every single student, every single current parent, and then he can make a decision. When he asks Rabbi Hoffman, how many people do I have to speak to? Every last student and every last parent.
Okay, I'm going to let Rabbi Hecht respond to you. Go ahead, Rabbi Shem.
First of all, let me bless you that you should have a nachas from all your children, and I hope and pray that this one child will bring back the other 4 and really reunite your family to be really.
My family is united. My family is united.
Yeah.
My family is united.
But isn't that okay? Good. But they should bring you nachas. Maybe they bring you nachas.
I get nachas from every one of them.
Can I respond
Okay,
as well?
excellent. I'm just blessing you. I'm giving you a blessing. Young lady, I'm giving you a blessing. Okay? I'm just telling you that you should nachas from all your children, and that's the way it should continue to go. When are you talking about a perpetrator, let's not talk about the yeshiva. You talk about a perpetrator and you talk about victims. All I need is one victim to say that the perpetrator is a perpetrator. To say that I need to speak to every single yeshiva bacher, he may be good for other bachrim. You know what? Send your child there. If there's anyone listening to my voice who thinks, now you're not letting me speak, I let you speak. So if you're listening to my voice, if you think your son should fit into this yeshiva, take him there. It's not a problem. I have nothing against it. If you think that, the question is, to those who came out of the yeshiva, burnt, damaged, hurt, in pain, families that were broken. I only have to bring one example, and that Rabbi Reuben broke.
You don't
their,
think
their,
in
their family.
Chabad there are examples of people that
you
were
don't
turned off?
answer for those. Your situation doesn't answer for that. One does not cancel out another.
Rabbi Heft.
Okay.
I understand that
can I
very
respond?
well, but first of all, we are talking about grown men. We are talking about men, not children who
Every
have a
cult is
flip
talking about
syndrome.
grown men. Every group, every
Excuse me,
syndrome, every
hold on a
ism.
second.
They're always talking about grown men and grown women. And maybe, and that's the question is, hey, how could they be brainwashed? Listen, I'm very, very
No,
happy.
I
to use the
understand.
word.
I understand
I'm
cults.
very, very
I have
happy.
Rabbi
Okay,
Heft, I have actually studied cults. I understand them.
Oh,
This is
so
not a
you,
cult.
listen, you know what? Hey, with you, we can use the word cult. Okay, my answer to
This
you
is
is,
not
you have a
a cult.
question if it's a
Okay.
cult?
But
You want to know if I
all
think
I'm
it's a
hearing,
cult?
Rabbi Heft,
You want to know if I think it's a
you're
cult?
saying, in your experience, it's not a cult, and we have to say,
my experience and the experience of knowing Rabbi
Young
Reuben
lady,
and
do you
knowing
want to
other
hear
people.
my opinion if it's a cult or not?
is it?
Because you're talking about one person. One.
Do you want to hear my opinion or you don't want to hear my opinion?
Decided you're taking on as your
Want to hear my
So
opinion
Rabbi
if it's a
Heft, so
cult or not?
how many parents are you referring to that believe that there is a cult-like atmosphere? Would you say that you?
Who are you asking to? The
You,
mother? Or you
Rabbi,
asking to
I'm asking
how
Rabbi,
many bills?
how many parents would you say believe that it's a cult-like atmosphere?
Listen. If you want to know, young lady, you want to know my opinion if it's a cult or not?
Good. Let's hear your opinion.
Oh, Rabbi Zev, you want to know? Okay, she doesn't want to know.
She wants to know too.
You-
Leslie wants to know also.
Yeah, I've
I
written in
absolutely
my
wanna know.
letter. I've written in my letter. The jury is still out. The jury is still out. I have to do more findings. Are there cult
How many
activities there?
parents are you
The answer is
representing
yes.
as a cult?
You know, young lady, when you spoke, I was quiet. You got to really, you want me to respond? I can respond.
Okay,
But if you're
go
not
ahead.
going to let me respond, then you can keep your question. Okay.
Sure,
Again,
go
number
ahead,
one, I'm
because I have
telling
other
you,
people in line.
those Talmidim, if the Talmidim are there, good. You can take everyone who's listening to my voice. If you believe Rabbi Hoffman, take your son tomorrow morning to the yeshiva. For those of you who are hearing my voice and say, listen, you know what? I don't hear this about every Rosh Yeshiva. Why don't I hear this about other yeshivas that are smaller yeshivas and things like that? Why don't we hear the word cult associated with them? And therefore I say, hey, there's question. You know what? There's smoke. Is there fire? We'll find out. We will find out. Let me tell you something. The truth is going to come out. Those people are going to come out and tell their stories. Just like already they are. Right now, they're still afraid to put their name to their story. That's the problem. That's the real problem. And that's the problem what Rabbi Hoffman is addressing from the other side. You want to hear the stories of the horror stories? The first thing is, Rabbi Hoffman, you have to guarantee them that you're not going to expose who they are because they're simply afraid for their lives. Other people leave the other yeshivas. They're not afraid for their lives. They're not afraid to tell you the good or the bad about the yeshiva. I've met students who went and ran away from that yeshiva and are afraid for their lives. That is the issue. And
How many
students?
students?
Like that? I need
How many
one
students?
student, and I make my point. And I have many
How
more.
many?
Okay, I want to thank you for
How
your
many?
phone. Thank you, Leslie, for your phone call.
Wait, Zev, how many? He's not answering.
Okay, how many are you referring to, Rabbi Shia? Would you say?
Of course I'm not answering because again, it's not a number game. This is not a number
Of
game.
course it is.
One too many
Okay,
is
I'd like to
also
hear what
bad.
Rabbi Hoffman
I'd
has
have
to
to
say,
speak up for one too many. Imagine if it was your son that disengaged from you. What would you then say? What would you be calling me and telling me then? That's what it. I am definitely concerned about the yochid, the one man or the one woman associated with this yeshiva.
And
And
I
I
that
also
you
respond-
seem to have a
many
personal
more.
vendetta
Many more.
against the yeshiva that you know nothing about. And
And-
I would love to hear Rabbi Hoffman's
And Rabbi
response.
Hoffman, Leslie, thank you for your phone call. Go ahead, Rabbi Hoffman.
Nothing to respond. He agrees with you.
Okay. I just want to say that this mother's opinion is the overwhelming
That may
opinion
be.
of
That may be.
every single parent that I have spoken to. It is the overwhelming opinion of every bacher in the yeshiva. And I'm just saying that.
And what about
You
those
know,
who are
there are
not happy? What
please
about
let me.
those
I
who
let
left the
you
yeshiva?
finish. Please let me finish. Please don't
No,
interrupt
you didn't let
me.
me finish either. You
Please don't
interrupted me
interrupt
also.
me.
Come on. The
Please
lady,
don't
I was nice
interrupt
to.
me.
I
There
asked her
is
to
only
return. You
one
weren't nice to
boy
me either.
that doesn't speak to one parent, and according to
Stop
the
that. It's wrong.
therapist,
You
it
know
is
that that's
One,
wrong.
one at a time.
okay.
We're back to one
It
at a time.
is
I want to get speak luck in a few moments. Go
listen,
ahead,
I
one at a
never
time.
interrupted him, though. I just want to say
Okay.
that
Oh, yes, you did.
he's. I just want to say that the overwhelming and even Chabad. You don't think there are people that are upset at Chabad, like Smaya Rosenthal or whatever his name was. He's like angry at the Chabad. There will always be in every yeshiva one or two yechidim. You did not
There's not
mention
one or two
the
Yeshiva.
numbers.
Come on.
You
Come
have.
on. You're not
Yeah, but
telling the
you said.
truth. Tell the
Come
truth.
on.
There's way more than
There's
one or two
only
Yeshiva.
one boy that doesn't speak
What's your first
to
name?
one parent. There's one boy that doesn't speak to one parent. And according
That is
to
simply
his
not true.
therapist,
I've not
he
met
is an
over a dozen
abused victim.
parents. I met over a dozen parents. Stop it.
And you spoke to the kid?
You're not saying the truth. You're
Okay,
not saying the truth. You
okay.
didn't do your
I-
due diligence. You accuse me. You should look in the mirror, my dear friend. Everything that you accuse me in the article that you wrote against me, I believe that you're guilty of.
Shira
Okay.
in Manhattan. Go ahead. Your question. Go ahead. So you're a parent in the yeshiva?
It's Larry Baruch.
Oh, Larry.
Shira and
Baruch.
Larry Baruch. And we are the parents that
Proud.
Rabbi
There.
Hoffman
Spoke
spoke
to.
about, who are Rabbi Lichstein's daughter and son-in-law.
Okay.
And-
And what is your opinion about what's going on?
Well, I just before we sent both our boys to the yeshiva, which was 5 years apart. Our oldest is there 6 years already, and our youngest is there for a year. We know we have a personal relationship with Dr. Palkovich. He stayed in our home, and we spoke to him both times about our boys going there. And he had nothing negative and many positives to say about the yeshiva. And in the second instance, when it was 5 years later and our son was going to go there, he encouraged us actually to send them there. He felt it was the right thing to do at that point. Second, and I could make 100 points, but I'll only make 4. The boys from the yeshiva, a number of boys stayed in our home for Shabbos and spent Shabbos with us, and we live on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, and with my father-in-law and mother-in-law. We live and be well, and had a wonderful Shabbos here. Visited my in-laws. We have spent at least 4 Shabbos in the yeshiva. At least two staying in the Reuben home and eating with them both Shabbos meals, and 2 staying with other families who are learning in the yeshiva so that we can spend Shabbos with our married children now. And we've only had positive experiences. And at the table on Friday night, Rabbi Reuben, on one occasion, we had a give and take discussion about something that we disagreed upon in a respectful and cordial and friendly manner. And the boys were amazed that we were having probably 30 or 40 boys at the table, and they were amazed that we were having such a discussion in front of them, and it was respectful and wonderful. Number 4 is Rabbi Lopiansky called me and asked me what I thought of the yeshiva. And he said his experience in interviewing the boys, because the interviews for the Mir Yeshiva in Yerushalayim was that they were fine, that with respect to, they were excellent with respect to both their
So
learning.
basically speaking, you're pleased
and
with
fine meeting.
you're pleased with the yeshiva and the education and the leadership.
Well, I want to just echo what Jordan Sokol's mom said, because I think she was so articulate and so eloquent. And to say that, we have 4 children, thank God. Now we have 7 grandchildren, thank God. Some of our children just made Aliyah. We have all different kinds of kids also. Would we have necessarily chosen this derech for our 2 boys? Not really. We're modern Orthodox, and that's how we raised our boys. As I said to Rabbi Hoffman, we spoke with him yesterday before Shabbos. Our boys, thank God, are healthy, happy, thriving, learning, growing. We have an amazing daughter-in-law that we really credit the yeshiva for our son having, found her. We have an incredible granddaughter, Harah now, and this little family is growing and thriving. It's an incredibly supportive community. They help each other. It's very chesed oriented. They all do things for one another. it's a little bit, I say it's a little bit like Chabad sometimes, because it's very, very inclusive and very respectful. Everyone is welcome. My husband made the point yesterday. I know we're not talking about cults, but the truth is, a cult never lets anybody in. And we've been, as my husband said, 4 or 5 times for Shabbos. Everyone is invited. Everyone can come visit. Everyone can join. It's a happy, beautiful, Haredi community. And we're very blessed that our boys, quote unquote, landed there and landed in the care of Rabbi Rubin and his Rebbetzin and the other people in charge.
Yeshiva, a lot of nachas.
And we appreciate it.
Amen.
And thank you.
Amen.
I'd like to share something else even, is when I go there and I daven there and spend time there, the boys and the Kolo people are always welcoming and respectful to me and make me feel comfortable and at home.
There's no
Hey,
question about it. The boys are there are the greatest group of boys. Zev, perhaps you can take on. I know that parents trying to get you.
So we're going to get
that
to
are
we're
calling
going to speed it
you
up.
who are as Rabbi Hoffman says, disgruntled. Maybe we can put one of those parents on.
We're going to hear.
If
We're going to
not,
go
people are
through.
going to think we set it up one way.
All right. Anyways, Larry and Shira, thank you for your phone call. And then with Speak Luck, we're going to get to them. Let's just take one call before we break. We're going to hear from Speak Luck. So let's just take the next phone call. Okay. I believe you're calling from New Jersey. Go ahead. Your question from New Jersey. Are you a parent in the yeshiva?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And what is your experience?
My experience has been a nightmare for the last at least 2 years.
What's the problem?
My kids have been alienated from me and my wife.
In what sense have they been alienated?
They don't come home. They don't call us. They call us on Erev Shabbos for a couple of minutes. And, when I'm not allowed into my son's shidduch world. When he started dating about 1.5 years, he goes, I don't need your help. I got this. He said, we think differently than you. You don't understand us. We've been watching them teach my first son that's married there, we always bring out our children to be caring and liking people, not looking for reasons to dislike people. They've been showing them that there's no one out there that's worth anything that's good except for them. They're the only ones that have the right answers. Everyone.
Which is a very, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that happens to be a very, very interesting characteristic about cult and cult leaders, that everybody else is puzzled. It's interesting that many of these rabbis,
Let me ask you a question.
Signed
Let
letters
me
for
ask you a
Rabbi
question.
Rubin. Rabbi Rubin publicly spoke against these rabbis.
Question. Does he speak to his older child who has never been in the yeshiva? The truth. Come on. Okay, I did a lot of homework here. I did a lot of homework.
He wants to know if you speak to your older child that's not in the yeshiva.
Children.
One
The
second.
truth.
He obviously knows that my youngest child doesn't pick up my phone, right? Does he understand that one? Well, what about my youngest child?
The truth. Do you speak to your older child who never met Rabbi Rubin? Answer truthfully.
No. First of all, call him Rabbi Hoffman. Call him Rabbi. Let's treat everybody with respect.
Nothing in it for me. I've nothing in it for me. I've done a lot of research. I don't want to say anything.
So, but I'm welcome to Tzvi Luck. He's the founder of Amudim. And Tzvi, welcome to the program. You've been listening to the show. So, what are your impressions?
So first of all, I want to say a good davach, and I have the utmost respect for everybody that's on this call, but I'm going to respectfully ask that we be cordial as possible, and start with that. I'm going to have to give you a 2-minute intro, and I apologize for this because I know you have a lot of other calls. But when I first got involved in this was about 1.5 years ago when we had calls from some parents with some very, very serious allegations. And at that point, we had tried doing a little bit of research into it, and we were hitting roadblocks. But at the end of the day, this was regarding adults that were over 18, not something that Amudim generally deals with. And we really didn't get anywhere. About a few months ago, probably about a month before Purim, so already longer than that, wow, we received, again, additional complaints. And I'm going to be honest. At first, the stuff that we heard from the parents, seemed extremely disconcerting. I'm not going to lie. And, you know, this is something that I feel bad. And I always say perception is reality, but the way the parents were calling was like my heart went out to them. At the same time, I had spoken to some of the Rabbanim involved. And very interestingly enough, a lot of the allegations that were being said were all coming from like the same circle without independent communication or verification. So I had come up with a recommendation of reaching out to former students more than current students, because like as Rabbi Shia Hecht clearly said, if there is a problem, obviously the current people involved are not the ones you want to talk to because they're, you know, bought into it. And we had an entire action plan, and I made it very clear to all sides involved. I said, you're going to hear rumors. I'm on this side. I'm on that side. I'm telling you now, I'm not taking any sides here. We just want to try to get to the truth. We brought in some forensic experts. We really put together a real team. But relatively quickly, as soon as the first time I made a comment to one of the people on the parents group that was something along the lines of, I don't really know if I would say this is even a cult or even close to it, but I do understand that there are some concerns. All of a sudden, the word went out. Tzvi Gluck drank the punch. I'm part of it. And we were pustled up before there was even a chance to go to first base. At that point, I basically walked away and said, there's really not much, I don't have the koyach for this. And then when this got resurfaced with the group of Rabbanim that were supposed to be coming in, so they got me back involved again, for lack of a better word. And yes, I did go to meet with the Rabbanim. I did speak to them, but I found something very interesting. The Rabbanim were horrifically misquoted before they even finished meeting with people. And an effort that we felt, me and the Rabbanim, was to derail whatever they were trying to do. People were quoting Rabbi Lapiansky of saying things he never said. There were emails being written, forwarding things from 4 or 5 years earlier, as if it was a brand new letter just issued as a result of a discussion with Rabbi Lapiansky, Rabbi Hopfer. And to me, this was a very interesting thing, where if people want to find the truth, regardless of what it is, and I'm not saying that some of these parents don't feel the way they feel. I'm sure they do. In some of the cases I've researched, there were some very good reasons why some of these children should have nothing to do with those parents. In other cases, things could be different. And I could say, like Rav Shia Hecht said, the truth may still be out, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that really need to be looked into. But the way this was done before the jury's even out, taking little bits of information and parceling things up and going against Rabbi Rubin while there's a tribunal meeting was extremely concerning to me. So that's my hakdama.
Okay, and what did you find out? Because from what I understand, Rabbi Rubin didn't end up going to the tribunal meeting. Is that correct?
I did. Rabbi Rubin went. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry?
Rabbi Rubin went to meet with the three Rabbanim.
Oh, yeah, because I have a letter here that seemed to indicate he didn't go. And by the way, for the record, we didn't reach out to Rabbi Rubin, but we have not heard back from him.
Oh, I was called to come to Lakewood to speak to the Rabbanim after having multiple calls by phone. And Rabbi Rubin was there with his wife. And Rabbi Rubin sat with the Rabbanim for a very, very extensive amount of time. So again, whatever letter you have might have been written before, might have not been at all. But again, it's another component of things being used for a narrative. Now, I'm not saying what is and what isn't. Rabbi Shia Hecht is certainly an expert in this topic. I can only say that I believe in trust, but then verify. And at the end of the day, the people that I've met on all sides of this coin, former students, current students, parents of former students, parents of current students, those that have an axe to grind, they have some very, very strong and serious concerns. And I'm sure they should be taken seriously, and some common ground needs to be found. But the way this picture has been painted, I don't see this the same way that others do. I don't see this as a cult or controlling. And as a matter of fact, to me, some of the allegations that were made were proven false. And they were proven lies. Now, again, it could be sometimes people might overly exaggerate because their point is not being heard. But at the end of the day, once there's sheker involved, it becomes even more difficult to get to it. I went so far as at some point I hosted a barbecue in my house for the Talmidim without any of the Rabbeim being invited. Okay, and I said very clearly, they don't have to come, they can come afterwards. And the students were the sweetest students. Now, again, like Rabbi Hecht said repeatedly, that could very well be that all of this is, they are students and they may not realize what's going on. Again, but at the end of the day, the rabbis that I've spoken to, including some of them that strap in, one of them is a son-in-law of someone that I'm very close to, who's been involved in the same field of abuse that I'm dealing with for many years. And they're singing a very different song. Now, I can tell you that through this whole fiasco, I have dealt with Rabbi Rubin on some serious cases that he had brought to Amudim as a result. He didn't know me before. I didn't know him before. And I have to tell you, when people say why other yeshivas don't act like this and other things don't, all of that is great. But I could tell you, when I had to deal with sending someone to a rehab, a abuse victim whose family was in denial, who is related to a student of his, not even a student of his, but related to, and Rabbi Rubin does not know this person, but the extent that he went to ensure and help, whether it's raising money to pay for this person's treatment, whether it's helping, whether it's understanding what's going on, this is not something I've seen by a lot of other Rosh Yeshivas either. So, to me, it's a very, very different angle of what I'm seeing here. One second. I want to ask one question. I'm sorry, because I believe now with what you just said, I believe I have spoken to your children. I don't believe I've spoken to you. And I'm just going to, one of your children had reached out to me regarding something that the reason why there was issues by you had to do with some documents that were written in his name inappropriately and over some other matters, and that was why he was cutting off relationships. I'm just curious if that was a complete checker as well.
I don't know what that is. I would like to meet you. I would like to meet you face to face, and you tell me that. I'm with my son next to you.
I would
like to meet you with my son next to me.
But your son told me that he was scared to speak in front of you. But I will gladly sit with you and your son.
You can talk to anyone about me. Rabbi Gluck, I'm happy you said that. Because you can talk to anyone about me.
Again, I'm just saying.
You can ask a million people about me, and you'll see I'm the greatest father you'll ever meet.
Let me just answer here. You might be 100% right. My offer still stands. I am more than happy to meet with you, with the other parents, together with the children in an environment where everyone's going to feel safe to share whatever they want. But I will say that when we blame a yeshiva for something, we also have to keep in mind sometimes, and I deal with this a lot, and I'm sure the Hecht does as well, and I don't know that that's the case by you, so I want to make this very clear, Chaim. I'm not saying this about you, but when we are dealing with it, sometimes it is what an adult child wants, and we have to make a difficult decision in how we're dealing with it. We're not dealing with young kids, we're dealing with adults. And sometimes they're saying, this is the way I want things. And it's something that has to be kept in mind. So yes, there's certainly all sides to it. And I am more than happy to assist in any way I can.
And let's facilitate if we can get a meeting between all of you. That's the end of the day. We want to see if we can make shalom. So we have right to be succinct. I believe we have a philanthropist, George Rohr, so active in Jewish life. So thank you for joining us. You have a question, comments, your thoughts, George?
Yes, Zev, thank you for the opportunity. I just felt I needed to weigh in here. I've had the privilege and honor of knowing Rav Eitan Rubin since he was 8 years old. I know him extremely well. I've had the pleasure of watching him blossom into a young Talmid Chacham, into a Rosh Yeshiva, into now a Manhig. And from my observation, there is an awful lot that other Rosh Yeshiva can learn from him. So that's part one. Part two, with great respect to Rabbi Hecht and the incredible work that he does and the tremendous value that he brings to Klal Yisrael every day through his work and the beautiful meistas that he runs himself. Nobody can tell me that there aren't disgruntled parents of his yeshiva or any other yeshiva who are unhappy about this or that or some tension that they perceive that has been caused by the yeshiva between them and their children. It happens every day in every yeshiva everywhere. So my respectful urging to Rabbi Hecht is that before making these charges, he really triple check every single claim that he is making against this tremendous Ohev Yisrael, this tremendous constructive leader, this great Talmid Chacham who has brought so much growth and so much joy to so many young men and their families. He needs to triple check all of those and be very, very careful in making such claims before potentially causing irreparable harm. So with that, I'll just close my comments and wish everybody well and the clarity to see what's really going on here, which is somehow I think Rabbi Hecht has been pulled into a witch hunt here that is completely baseless.
George, thank you all that you do for Jewish life. I know that you contribute quite a bit, and we appreciate you being here with us. So thank you, and God help you continue all the important work that you do.
Thank you, Zeb. Same to you.
Reb Shia, you want to respond to what George had said?
It's a great fatherly advice. I definitely take his advice. I thought I was going along that path up before tonight, and I will continue to go on that path. And I should say, you know, after all, it is Erev Yontif. It is a time to bless all Jews need extra blessing, but particularly people like the Raw family and George Raw should continue doing his great work that he does for Torah, Yiddishkeit, and Yeshivas, etc. Again, when it boils down to, you know, this is not a number game. Please, I'm asking you, Rabbi Hoffman, please, it's not a number game. If I have one student who went through the yeshiva, and let's assume for the moment he misunderstood the Rav, he misunderstood the Rosh Yeshiva, he misunderstood the yeshiva, let's not wipe that away and say it's not a problem.
Let's go to Corrine in New York. You have a question to comment. Go ahead, Corrine. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, I'm a mother with 3 sons in the yeshiva, 3 daughter-in-laws, and 7 grandchildren. This yeshiva is absolutely wonderful. But I can say that in the beginning, it was very difficult. We are a modern Orthodox family, and my children are now Haredi. And it was a hard thing to do. And I could have gone either way. I could have let my ego get to me and like kind of just gone up against it. But instead, I opened my eyes. I opened my heart. I wanted shalom. And Rabbi Reuben was so accommodating. He did things that no other rabbi would do. I like to cook. He let me cook for the yeshiva. Not in my home, but I was able to do it in my daughter-in-law's home. My daughter, who's modern like us, got married. She wanted to dance with her brothers. Rabbi Reuben found a way. We could dance together as a family, with just as a family. He made that happen. Rabbi Reuben has accommodated us in so many ways. And to think that he is breaking up families is absolutely ridiculous. He is all about family. And I have to say, thank you to Rabbi Reuben. Thank you to the Shiva. And thank you to my children for showing me the way.
And thank you for sharing that with us. We appreciate that. So at Sachakol, Rabbi Hecht, should people send their kids to this yeshiva, in your opinion? Not send kids to the yeshiva? What's your opinion?
I think, first of all, no one knows a person like a Rebbe, Rabbi Ballison, who is Rabbi Eitan Rubin's rabbi. He says also that you have to listen to Rabbanim, and you should listen to your Rebbe more than even to your father. So we should listen to him. He writes clearly that he should basically leave the yeshiva. And he opened an open letter to the Talmidim, to the yeshiva. He says, you two have an obligation to listen to Das Torah and to break away and break off all contact with Eitan Rubin. This is what he writes. I'm reading directly from the letter. So as far as I'm concerned, his Rebbe himself said he's not ready to be a Rosh Yeshiva. You don't have to ask me. That's what his Rebbe said. Many of these Talmidim came from that yeshiva themselves, from Eretz Yisrael, and they therefore, number one. Number two is, I don't know. I wouldn't send my child there. There's enough questions. It may be true that some of the negotiations and some of the findings we'll find out later in a few months from now. But you know what? The people on the panel tonight were afraid to say that if they're found wrong, they're going to come out against this guy. I don't understand how that could be. And
I told you that when I met with you, and I will say that publicly now. Number three.
Hold on, gentlemen, we're almost out of time.
Number 3 is like this. Tonight, this was not about the yeshiva. It was about a man that wrote about me, that I'm a murderer. I didn't hear his apology yet. I want to know how the word murderer suits this situation. And by the way, his answer on the other I also
He answered the question. Give me the answer. 30 seconds. Did you call Rabbi Shia the murderer?
So the Chafetz Chaim writes
Did you
that someone
yes
who
or no?
Lashon. Do you want me to answer or not?
Yes, but give me a
Do you want
30
me to
second
answer or not?
Yes or no?
So I am answering. No. Excuse me. You don't say yes or no. This is my answer. The Chafetz Chaim writes that someone who is a Baal Lashon Harah is worse than the three Averos of Shlichus Damim.
You now wrote Lashon
You
Hara
are
about me.
riot. You're not
And you
letting me
wrote
One
Lashon
answer.
second,
Hara
I
about
want
me.
to hear this. I want to hear this.
Ask me
I
a
want to hear
question.
this.
You wrote Lashon Hara
Hold
about
on,
me.
hold on. So you're saying somebody who did one of the three cardinal sins, yes?
I'm saying that the Chafetz Chaim writes that someone who is a Baal Lashon Hara, and here we have so many
You
parents,
can quote the Baal
so
Shem
many.
Tov.
Do you want me to
On the
answer
So,
Gemara.
or not?
I'm gonna
Okay,
cut to the chase. We have
Rabbi Heft,
7 minutes.
I for you
I'm
that
gonna.
Hashem should open
Oh,
your
you know what?
eyes.
I want. I have
Okay.
people that
Thank
want
you
to
for
come
your
on.
prayers.
We have
I
the
love
phones are ringing off the hook, and so I want to give you an opportunity to do a quick closing remark. So, just so you're saying, since he engaged in Lashon Hara, he's considered a murder according to the Chavos Chaim. Is that what your position is?
Lashon Hara he loses his Olam Haba, and he's worse than the three cardinal sins.
So he's worse than a murderer if he did Lashon Hara. And you're saying he did Lashon Hara.
I'm
Okay,
saying
so that's
no. I'm saying that he's got to apologize to Rabbi Rubin, and he's got to undo all the damage that he's done, and then his
There's no
tshuva can be
damage. He's a
accepted.
tzaddik ador. They
Then
don't
his
listen to me.
tshuva.
They only listen to him.
okay. Let's say we have a Chabad rabbi. And,
Here, right in front of you, and you don't see it.
okay.
Everybody only
Rabbi
listens to
Hecht.
him. They don't listen to me. I'm insignificant, right, Rabbi Hoffman?
You're not insignificant. We just got to
I'm not
direct you to the right way. We got to direct you to the right way.
But you're not ready to say, if I show you proof, you're not ready to admit that you were wrong. That's what you
And
said
we're going
earlier.
around the circle. We have Rabbi Zevi Gradinsky, he's a Chabad rabbi in Great Neck. So you have a quick question or comment for our guests because we're almost out of time.
I didn't plan on calling you tonight. I just wanted to comment that I'm not a teacher, I'm not a student, I'm not an alumni of the yeshiva. I'm a neighbor and a rabbi in Great Neck.
Rabbi, when I called you, you were afraid to talk to me on the telephone. Why were you afraid to talk to me?
I was not afraid to talk to my
Rabbi said,
telephone.
why were you afraid to talk to me, Rabbi Gaisinski? When I talked to you, afraid I would quote you. Why were you afraid if you were going to say so many nice things about this man? Go ahead, tell the world.
Okay, so what do you want to tell us, Rabbi Gaisinski?
Rabbi Gaisinski, why did you
okay,
not
so Rabbi
talk to
let
me?
him answer the question. We're almost out of time. I want to give you a closing remark. Otherwise, you're not going to have a closing remark. Go ahead, Rabbi Gaisinski.
With all due respect, Rabbi Heft, with all due respect, we spoke on the phone for approximately 40 minutes. I said I do not want to get involved. It's not something which I prefer to get involved publicly. And then I listened to
You told me not to quote you. Did you say nice things about the yeshiva that you didn't want me to quote?
I did say nice, positive things, yes. I wanted to share.
Oh, and that's why you told me not to quote you, right? Because you didn't want me to quote you on the nice things. Rabbi Gaisinski, this was the wrong call for you to make. Rabbi Gaisinski, this was the wrong call for you to make.
So you had a 40-minute conversation, Rabbi Hecht, and what was the conclusion? 30 seconds. What's the maskana?
I'll tell you what very, very clearly, because there's a tape of that conversation, Rabbi Gaisinski. There's a tape of the meeting.
Okay, let him finish. Let him finish. 10 seconds.
Okay, I just want to say one thing. My own experience with yeshiva has been very positive. I know from my own research, the cults generally keep their people in the cult within their environment. Rabbi Rubin has allowed the Bachim to come to my home, my personal home, for Tanya Shurim. He doesn't monitor what I say. They come to my house. They're free to come whenever they want. That's from my own positive, relationship with yeshiva. Again, so from my own perspective, as an outsider, I'm not part of the yeshiva. I'm not involved. I don't gain anything from saying what I'm about to say. I've seen very good things, and I can't see anything negative. The Bachim come to our JCC. They come play here. All my experience has been positive. They've been happy. He's not overwhelming them. He's not controlling them. They can come to me whenever they want. It's not up to him. He's not on top of them. I can say whatever I want when they're in my house. So that's just been my 2 cents. And
anyway,
again,
I appreciate your phone call on that. We're almost out of time, but thank you. Let's squeeze in at least one last caller for tonight. Duvi in New Jersey, I believe. Go ahead, Duvi. Your quick question or comment. We have about almost out of time. I want to give closing remarks. Duvi, are you there? Okay, so one second. So what's your question or comment?
People were abused by communal leaders, rabbanim, askanim, so on and so forth. And some of these people were mamash tzaddikim. I thought they were tzaddikim, and everyone thinks they're tzaddikim. And then when I saw the evidence and heard recordings and so on and so forth, I saw that they're not. But to 95% of people, these are tzaddikim. And so nobody wants to say anything, especially when you're in a yeshiva environment. And every single secular cult has been like this. Where B'shas Maisa, while the cult was going on, everybody was happy, and it gets reinforced by seeing everyone else is happy. I'm the only miserable one. It must be that I'm wrong. I should be happy. This is okay.
Are you a parent?
Are
you a parent of a student in the yeshiva?
I'm not a parent. I'm not talking about this case. I'm talking about the generalizations that we seem to have a misunderstanding here, that a cult leader is abusive to all of the members of his cult. Look at every single secular cult. They were all happy until the cult fell apart. And then everyone says, oh, I saw this. But while it was going on, I thought it was okay because everyone else acted like it was okay. So you can find people that are really tzaddikim, and they really act like tzaddikim to everyone, except to that small percent. So just because you have people who say, oh, this is a great person, he's a wonderful, and they really do tzidkas to everyone, except those few that they don't. And those are dangerous people. And I think we're not recognizing this in this conversation, that you can bring all these wonderful people that say that they're wonderful, and they mean it serious, and the Bachram could be verkauft all the way. That doesn't mean that this person is not dangerous. That doesn't mean there isn't a cult going on.
Okay, we appreciate your phone call. So thank you for your phone call. Okay.
Thank you.
So I think we're almost at the end. I want to make sure everybody has time to respond. I apologize. We didn't get to all the calls. The calls are bringing off the hook. I didn't really give out the number much during the program, but we're almost at the end. So let me start you with Speak Luck, founder of Amudim, a 2-minute closing statement.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say this. Reb Shia Hecht, I told this to you when I met with you, and I'll say it again now. If I am wrong, which means that this is a serious problem, I will be the first that will have to publicly apologize. I have said this many times. I am not one not to shy away when I have to stand up for what's right, and I'm not one that doesn't make mistakes. I happen to believe in this situation. My opinion at this point is, from everything I've seen, it does not seem the way it's being presented by the people calling it a cult. But if I am wrong, I will do that. So that's number one. Number two is the way I'm looking at this, and Reb Shia, you said it perfectly.
And 60 seconds will be one.
If I'm going to speak like you said 2 minutes, I'm only at 38 seconds. Is that if somebody becomes a Baal Tshuva and their family is not from, then the community embraces that Baal Tshuva and says, hey, this is something we have to help because the family dropped him because he became from. In this situation, it's very tricky. Whether it's the way I want to live my life or not is irrelevant. But the students that are there are choosing to live a certain lifestyle, and it seems to me that their parents are feeling that that lifestyle means that indirectly they're saying, you're not good enough for me because you might be
we're out of time.
and things of that nature. And I think that's really where there's a major disconnect here from my 2 cents.
I appreciate that. Speak Luck, founder of Amudim. Let's turn to Rabbi Yair Hoffman. 2-minute closing statement.
So I just want to say that the Rabbi Hecht spoke about a previous Rebbe. His name was Rabbi Shaul Shrem. He wrote a letter that said base measures of Greatneck, which with the previous name of Shia Chaim, will forever remain the prototype perfect yeshiva to steiging in all areas of Aliyah. Now, this is, he said that Reb Eitan Reuben was always putting the Talmidim first. And I just want to say that this has been my view of Rabbi Reuben. I know a number of Rosh Yeshiva, and I just want to say I did not learn in the yeshiva that Rabbi Eitan Reuben learned in, but I just want to say that every Rosh Yeshiva could come and learn tremendously from what this man is doing. This is a model yeshiva, and it makes these kids into such mention. It's unbelievable. One last thing, I just wanted to say that it was falsely said that the Rabbanim of the panel asked Rabbi Bylinson to disseminate that letter widely. It is completely not true. I have a letter to that effect, and I just want to
thank you because we're out of time. I want to give 2 minutes to Rabbi Shia Hep. 2 minutes. Thank you, Rabbi Yair Hoffman, Chaber 32 Svarim, for being with us. Rabbi Shia Hep, National Committee. Go
My
ahead.
dear friend, the first thing I'd like to start off saying, good Geben Shol, Lashon to all of you. May you all be blessed with nachas children. We should never have programs like this that we have to talk against Rosh Yeshiva or people within the cloak and the cloaks of teaching and yeshivas, etc., etc. I'm not going to address the fact that we just mentioned about a previous Rebbe, but I must say to you, the people that I spoke to, and I spoke to many people in all different categories, had different jobs and everything. They all had one thing in common. They said, please do not mention my name. I am afraid. I'm afraid. I'm not exactly sure what they're afraid of, but that's very, very common to cult members and to former members of cults. Even years later, they're afraid somehow the cult is going to get them. And this, to me, was very, very alarming. Now, of course, there are issues that can be worked out, and hopefully, because of this program, they will be worked out.
Can you get ready to sit down together, Rabbi Shia? Can I get you to sit down with Rabbi Yair Hoffman?
I'm happy to sit with him. I mean, he wants to.
Rabbi, how
I
can
know.
we sit
I'm
with
just
Rabbi
wondering who's
Shia? Can
paying.
we
He
get
said he
that
wants to sit
going?
down and eat together. I don't know who's
Okay, eat
who's
break
paying.
bread together. Why not? Okay, good.
But let me just say something. The Bachrim that I spoke to, former Bachrim, are mamish victims. And the pain is very, very deep. And I do feel for these Bachrim. I do feel for the parents. And I will continue working to help and see. And I will, the game's not over yet. It's a 14 months so far they're investigating. Many other things are going to come out. That's what I believe. Now, I may
Anyway,
be
thank
wrong.
you.
But in either way, I think the way the Yair Hoffman Rabbi wrote about me was incorrect and not
Anyway,
proper.
I want to thank Rabbi Shia. I have to thank all of you for being here. We'll have to do a follow-up program. Thank you for joining us. This is the Talk Line Network.